Hey, how's it going? Today, I'll be showing you how to subnet IPv4 addresses. Now, if you guys don't know what an IP address is, if you guys don't know what subnetting is, eventually I'll be making a little video on exactly what that is and what basic network terminology stands for. But for this video specifically, I will be focusing on how to subnet IPv4 addresses with the magic number method. And so I feel that this chart here is literally the key to success when it comes to subnetting. Obviously, we all have our different methods, and I would really advise on sticking to the method that works best for you. But back when I was in college, this method helped me out a lot more with the subnetting, especially being able to visualize the chart or even memorize the chart. I was able to quickly subnet right off the bat, right? But it's going to take a couple times to, memorize it. It's going to take some time to practice with it, to fully understand it. And so I'm going to go over how to exactly use this, right? All right, cool. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. All right, sweet. So a typical problem you'll have here is an IP address, right? Network address with a CIDR attached to it. And let's just say, one of your clients wants to know, hey, I got this 192.168.0.0 CIDR of 20, right? I want to know how many usable host IP address. I want to know what the usable host IP address range is, right? I want to know what the starting point is, what the ending point is, so that way I know what I can allocate to my hosts, right? I also want to know the number of usable host addresses. How many host addresses are available to me, minusing the broadcast and network address that I can assign to my hosts specifically, right? I want to know my broadcast IP address, and I want to know my network IP address. So these are all important information, and this magic number chart will help us out in this scenario, right? So let's go ahead and start with this example. See if I can zoom out here. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and direct ourselves to the CIDR. We got CIDR of 20, right? We're going to look at this magic number chart. Let's see. You've noticed here that the first row here, we have magic number, right? And these numbers are going to be very beneficial to us. We have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. This chart basically is all you need to subnet. To preface this, you won't need to, convert anything to binary or hex or anything like that. You won't even need to do any type of conversions when it comes down to this. This chart is very simple, very easy, and very self-explanatory once you get it down, right? So moving on, the second row here is the first octet CIDR, second octet CIDR, third octet CIDR, and then this row here shows the number of IPs for the third octet, right? The fourth octet CIDR, this row right here, the IP addresses for the fourth octet, and then finally the subnet mask, right? So some of this might just seem gibberish to you, but let me go ahead and explain it now. First step here, step one, what we're going to do is look at what our CIDR is, right? Our CIDR is 20. So we're going to go here and find 20. Oh man, that's a crappy star. All right, let's redo that. Sweet. So we got 20, right? We're going to work off this specific box. Well, first things first, we're going to go ahead and navigate north, right? Oh man. All right, there we go. North, right? We have a magic number here. Magic number 16. We got 16 magic number. And this number is going to help us be successful in subnetting. We're going to look west. What is on our west? Well, we know that it is the third octet, right? So what that tells us is we're going to be working in the third octet, right? Sweet. Cool. So with those two informations in mind, those two numbers in mind, third octet and 16, we can now start solving this. So first off the bat, let's go with the easy questions, right? Network IP address. What is that? Well, simply, in this scenario, the network IP address is literally this right here. So let's go and write that down. 192.168.0.0. That's our starting point. Remember, folks, we can't use the network IP address, nor can we use the broadcast IP address, right? I'll cover that more in depth in my other videos, but network and broadcast IP addresses cannot be utilized as a host IP address. Host IP addresses are completely separate from the network and broadcasts. All right, cool. So now we know that 192.168.0.0 is our network IP address right here. Now we're going to try to find what the broadcast IP address is. That's a good step, right? So let's type that on here. Let's first do 192.168.0.0. That's our network IP address to whatever our broadcast IP address is. All right, sweet. So let's find that out. Toss this to the side for now. All right, so we're going to take our network IP address, 0.0, and what we're going to do here is navigate ourselves to the magic number. And so we know that 20 corresponds with number 16. What we're going to do here is add number 16 in the third octet. So this is the third octet, right? To preface this again, first octet, second octet, third octet, and fourth octet. This is in the this is in the third octet. So what we're going to do is we're going to add add 16 here, right? That's going to simply give us 16. And we're going to keep 0 as is. What this is resembling is the next network, right? We're currently working in 192.168.0.0/20, but this is the next network. In order to get the broadcast IP address, the broadcast IP address is the last IP address in this range, in our current range. So what that would be is basically, hey, all you're going to do is add that magic number. This is the next network, and simply we're going to subtract 15, which would make this a 255, right? And so now we know, since we added 16, that got us to our next network. Then we subtracted 1, and what that turned into is our broadcast IP address, because our broadcast IP address is the last IP address in our range, network range, right? So let's go ahead and write that there. 192.168.15.255, right? That's our broadcast IP address. Note, once again, we cannot use these two addresses, the broadcast and network IP address, as hosts. And so now we're going to move over to usable host IP range. All right, sweet. So this is pretty simple. All we got to do here is take the network IP address, so 192.168.0.0, and the broadcast IP address, which is 192.168.15.255, right? And we found that once again by adding our magic number and subtracting 1. This right here, folks, is our entire range, our current range of IP address. So this is our network IP range, right? However, this isn't the range of hosts, the IP range for hosts, usable hosts, sorry. And so we're going to find that now. Since we know that the broadcast IP address is this right here, and the network IP address is right here, all we got to do is add one bit right here to our network address and subtract 1 from the broadcast IP address. So I added 1 to 192.168.0.0, which makes it enlarge just a little bit, which makes it 192.168.0.1. And I subtracted 1 from my broadcast address right here, 192.168.15.254. And so what this right here resembles is the range of the usable host IP addresses. Sorry. So this would solve for this. Oop. Let's fix this here. Sweet. All right. So to clarify this once again, this basically resembles the usable IP addresses that we can apply to hosts, if that makes sense, right? And finally, what with the number of usable host addresses, they're looking for a number. So how many is this? 5, 6, 10, 8, 20, 35, 40, you know, whatever that may be. What that is basically taking the range. So how many hosts are here, right? From 192.168.0.1 to 192.168.15.254. How many hosts are there? This you can calculate. However, you can also use the magic number chart, which is why it's so magic, right? Magical. So let's go back to 20. Oh, moved it a little bit. So let's go back to 20, right? The CIDR was 20. We got 20 on the chart. We're going to go now. We're going to take ourselves down south, right? So let's go here. View this out right here. So we find the subnet mask, right? Got the subnet mask is the last row here. Here it says 240 is our subnet mask. Remember, we're working in the third octet. Since we're working in the third octet, our subnet mask would simply be 255.255.240.0, right? That would be our subnet mask for this this network, this IP right here. This 192.168.0.0/20. That's your subnet mask. Right there. And the number of... Oh, yeah, I skipped past that, actually. So the number of usable host addresses would be right here, too. It's right here. $40.96, right? However, this isn't the number of usable host addresses. This is the number of addresses in the entire range of 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.15.255. That is including the broadcast and network IP address. What we're going to do here is take that 4096, right? And we're going to subtract 2. Because we can't utilize our broadcast and network IP address, right? So therefore we remove it, and we're only looking for the number of usable host addresses. So we're subtracting 2. That's the reason why we're subtracting 2. And that would give us 4094, right? This would be our answer to this right here. 4094. Right? Sweet. Now this can be done for any other type of IP address that, you know, the answers would. So this match number chart here can be utilized for literally any IPv4 subnetting question, right? So let's go ahead and redo that, but let's do it for something in the 4th octet because that's a little bit different. So we're going to solve this because it's in the 4th octet. As you can see here, we can't find /28 in the upper half of this box, right? But we can find it right here. CIDR 28 is located right there. So what's our next step, right? We're going to first navigate ourselves all the way up north, right? And we found magic number 16. Right? Convenient. There we go. Magic number 16. Type that up here. 16 is our magic number. Sweet. So now we're going to also look over here. We're working within the 4th octet, which is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So right here. So simply go back through the steps, right? 16 is our magic number. 192.168.10. We're going to add 16 to the 4th octet. That's what it says here. So 16. 0 plus 16 equals 16, right? But before we do that, we can solve one thing from this right here. 192.168.10.0 is the network address. That is the network we're working in. So we're going to go and type that here. 0, right? Let's go ahead and move up. We're going to try to find the broadcast IP address. Well, since we know that now 16 is the magic number and we added 16 to the 4th octet, as we say right here, this represents the next network, this next subnet, right? So what we're going to do is subtract 1. So go ahead and subtract 1 from 16. That lands us at 15. This is the last IP address, right? The last IP in our current subnet of 192.168.10.0/28. However, if you guys remember, the last IP address is not a usable IP address because it is a broadcast IP address, right? So since it is a broadcast IP address, we can simply just take this and paste it here because we added the magic number to 0, 16 to 0, which gave us 192.168.10.0. I'm sorry, 10.16. Then we subtracted 1 for our broadcast IP address. Sweet. So we now know that our current range is 192.168.10.0 to 192.168.10.15, right? Sweet. Let's move this up. That's our range. That's our total range, right? That's including our network and broadcast IP addresses. Remember, like I said earlier, we can't use those. So now we want to know the usable host IP range. And that's simple. All you got to do is take your network IP address, 192.168.10.0, and you add 1, which is 1. And then for the last usable IP address, host IP address, you subtract 1 from broadcast IP address, right? So 192.168.10.14 because you're subtracting 1 from 15, right? So that is your usable IP range for your host IP addresses, right? And so if you do the math here, you know, how many hosts are there from this specific range from 10.1 to 10.14, right? You'll know that there are 14 hosts because 1 through 14, right? Now, if you go over here, once again, I remember showing you guys that our usable host IP addresses are also on the magic number chart if needed. And this one's pretty simple. All you got to do is look down 1 and you'll find 16 is right here for the number of IPs in the 4th octet. But 16 is including the broadcast and network IP addresses, right? Which is 2. So we're always going to subtract 2 from this number. So subtract 2 from 16, which gives us our 14 there. And that's the number of usable host IP addresses. Finally, last step, let's go ahead and figure out what the subnet mask of this is, right? So all we got to do is look at our CIDR 28, go back on the box here. We found 28 and go down south. Now we found subnet mask. It's the last row right here. 240, right? Coincidentally, this example is the same CIDR as the other one. So it worked out in our favor. So, well, not the same CIDR, but it came down to be in the same column and row for our previous example. So 255.255.255.255.240. Previously, we had it in the 3rd octet, and that's because we were working within the 3rd octet, right? And I believe that was /20 for our previous example. However, this is the 4th octet, and this clearly shows that we're working in the 4th octet because it says here, therefore, our subnet mask number is going to be placed in the 4th octet, thus replacing the preceding octets with 255s, maxing it out, right? 240. So that is simply how you solve subnetting, specifically with IPv4, with the magic number trick, right? I will see if I can link this to I can link this magic number document on the description below. If not, it should be available on Google. And if that's not even possible, go ahead and refer to this video, and it's right here. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them on the comments below. I'll be sure to check that out. And yeah, hope this helps you guys out with your future networking endeavors. Thank you.